Title: The Chosen Shadow, a tale about pain, power, and the thin line between divine justice and human revenge. They used to call him Noah the Nothing, because that's what he felt like, nothing. Every day, the same routine: bruises, laughter, whispers that crawled under his skin like maggots. The hallways of Crestwood High were his hell, and every locker door that slammed was another reminder that no one cared. At night, he'd sit in his room staring at the ceiling, asking God the same question every broken soul has whispered: "Why do you let them do this to me?" And then, one night, God answered. It was during the biggest storm Crestwood had seen in years. Lightning cracked the sky open like glass, and Noah woke to the sound of whispers, not from his room, not from the house, but from inside his head. You asked to be seen, Noah, to be heard, to be feared. The air around him shimmered, his walls darkened, not with shadow, but with something that moved. It looked alive, like black smoke swirling in slow motion. From that smoke, a shape formed, tall, faceless, cloaked in darkness that bent the light around it. "You've suffered long enough," it whispered. "I was sent to balance the scales." Then came the pain, a burning light in his chest, searing through his veins like liquid fire. Noah screamed, collapsing onto the floor as the shadows poured into him. When it stopped, he wasn't the same. His eyes, once soft and frightened, now glowed faintly under the flicker of his desk lamp pupils, rimmed with silver light. He could feel things, heartbeats through walls, fear like perfume in the air. And then the voice returned. "They called you nothing. Let's show them what nothing can become." That night, he smiled for the first time in years, and outside, thunder answered back. The next morning, Noah didn't walk into school like a ghost. He walked like a storm wearing human skin. No one noticed at first, not until Bryce and his crew cornered him by the lockers, sneering as usual. Bryce shoved him. "Still breathing, freak? Guess we didn't drown you hard enough last time." But Noah didn't flinch. His voice came out calm, too calm. "Do you ever think about how fast blood cools once it hits the floor?" The laughter stopped. Bryce frowned. "What did you just say?" Noah looked up, and the hallway lights flickered. For a moment, shadows rippled across the walls like black water. Bryce stepped back, uneasy. Then, from behind them, came a sound like bones cracking. When they turned, the lockers were warping metal, twisting inward, pulling like magnetized steel. Bryce tried to run, but the ground beneath him darkened, swallowing his shoes. He screamed. Noah watched. "Don't worry," Noah whispered. "You'll be remembered now." The others fled. Noah stood still, heart calm, pulse steady. By nightfall, whispers spread across Crestwood. Bryce was missing. The footage from the security cameras showed static when Noah walked by. The principal called it a technical malfunction. The police blamed runaway behavior. Noah just stared at his reflection that night, watching the faint silver light pulse in his eyes. "You said you were sent by God," he whispered. "But this doesn't feel holy." The voice in his head chuckled, soft and distant. "Even God has his angels of vengeance, Noah. You are one of them." A week later, Crestwood was unrecognizable. Another bully vanished, Eli, the one who carved insults into Noah's desk. Then Sarah, the girl who filmed his humiliation. Each disappearance more gruesome, more inexplicable than the last. Students whispered that the school was cursed. Teachers prayed before class. Noah walked through it all like a phantom king among trembling subjects. But something inside him was shifting. The voice was louder now, hungrier. He saw shadows even in daylight, crawling at the corners of his vision. Sometimes they whispered names he didn't know. Sometimes they laughed. "You've done well, my child," the voice said. "They feared you as they once feared me." Noah looked around his room. The crucifix above his bed had turned black, its wood cracked down the center. "Are you God?" he whispered. The laughter that answered him made the walls bleed shadow. "No, Noah. I am what he turned away. You called for power, and I came." Noah staggered back, realizing too late he hadn't been chosen by heaven. He'd been claimed by hell, but even then he didn't fight it. He couldn't. The darkness was inside him now, whispering promises he couldn't resist. The next day, the entire school gathered for an assembly in memory of the missing students. The principal began to speak, but the lights dimmed. Then, one by one, the windows shattered. Screams filled the air as black smoke poured into the gym, twisting, shaping, feeding. And at the center of it stood Noah, eyes glowing like silver fire, his voice echoing like thunder. "You made me a monster. Now you'll see what monsters pray to." The doors locked, the shadows screamed. Crestwood High was never the same again. The fire alarms wailed through Crestwood High, but no one left alive could hear them. Only Noah stood in the middle of the gym, breathing slowly, calmly, as black ash fell like snow. The shadows were silent now. The voice that once whispered in his mind had gone quiet, leaving only the sound of rain on shattered glass. He walked through the ruins' desks, twisted like corpses, walls marked with handprints burned into the paint. Every step echoed with what he'd done. Every step echoed with what he'd become. Outside, police sirens wailed. Noah raised his hand and the sound stopped. Engines died, radios crackled with static. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then came another voice, not the dark one he knew. This one was soft, broken, familiar. Noah. He turned and there she was. Mrs. Carter, his literature teacher, the only one who had ever been kind to him. Her leg was bleeding, her eyes wide with tears. "Noah, what did you do?" He opened his mouth, but the shadows moved first, curling around her like smoke. Her cross necklace began to glow faintly, fighting back the dark. "You prayed for help," she whispered. "You asked God for strength. Not for this." Noah's eyes flickered between silver and human brown. His hands trembled. For a moment he saw himself scared, beaten, small. Then the other voice returned, deeper, harsher. "She's lying. She left you to rot. End it." The crucifix flared bright, cutting through the shadows. Noah screamed, clutching his head. The gym lights burst one by one. The shadows ripped free from his body, like smoke torn by wind. A tall figure emerged from them, the same faceless being from his room that first night. "You were my vessel," it said. "You fed me with hate. Now your soul is mine." Mrs. Carter reached for him, crying, "Noah, fight it. God still sees you." And for a heartbeat, he did. The silver light in his eyes dimmed. The shadow figure hesitated. Then Noah looked at her and smiled a sad, broken smile. "He saw me too late." With a scream that shook the rafters, Noah thrust his hand into the creature's chest. Both of them vanished in a storm of black fire. When the smoke cleared, the gym was empty. Only the crucifix lay on the floor, glowing faintly, then fading to ash. Days later, Crestwood was declared abandoned. No one spoke of the incident again. No one dared. But sometimes, when storms roll over the town, people say they see a figure walking the old-school halls, eyes glowing faintly silver, whispering to the darkness that raised him. And if you listen closely, you might hear a voice whisper back, "Do you still think God is watching? Do you still believe power can be pure? If you were Noah, what would you have done? And when you pray in the dark, do you really know who's listening?"